From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, November 12th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.39 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,228 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 0.73 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $709. Antiwar.com reports the Russian Defense Ministry is facing a major rebel pushback in Syria after revealing that they have collected considerable evidence of the use of chlorine and white phosphorus weapons by Nusra Front forces in the invasion of southwestern Aleppo's District 1070. Russia provided soil samples and unexploded shells the rebels fired at Syrian troops defending the district during their recent push, detailing their findings to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and urging them to send a team themselves. Ironically, the Nusra Front was silent on the matter, and it was the rebel Syrian National Coalition, a rival faction with no significant ties to the Aleppo forces, that issued a statement denying Russia's claims and insisting they believe the Syrian military used the chemical weapons. Syria had a considerable chemical weapons arsenal early in the civil war, but agreed to disarm it early on. The chemicals were shipped out of the country and disincorporated, though empty chemical shells have found their way into several groups' hands and have been filled with primitive chemical agents. Though such attacks have caused relatively minimal casualties, the fear of chemical weapons in any form has provided a propaganda boost for those using them. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports emergency officials said they evacuated the entire town of Ellendale, Minnesota on Friday after a Union Pacific train carrying hazardous materials derailed. No injuries were reported due to the derailment. Steele County Emergency Management Director Mike Johnson told FPPradioNews News 2 of the derailed cars caused concern because one carrying propane has a tear while another intact car contains butane. At least 7 cars of the 146-car train overturned about half a mile south of the town around 6 a.m. on Friday morning. Officials evacuated a 1-mile radius around the site of the crash and restricted airspace in a 2-mile radius. The elementary school in Ellendale has been closed and a section of Minnesota Highway 30 was shut down. Melanie Cheetah, executive director of the American Red Cross serving southeast Minnesota, told local media, "We're working closely with our partners, including Geneva United Methodist Church in Ellendale, to support those displaced from the derailment and those responding to help." Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organization to show up in an emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare to the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411, because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. Reuters reports about 40 people involved in protest against the Dakota Access Pipeline were arrested on Friday in rural North Dakota as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said it would soon clarify its plans for the controversial project near sacred tribal lands. Amy Gaskill, spokeswoman for the Army Corps of Engineers, said it would issue a decision on its next steps within a few days, though it would perhaps not be a final decision, and it was unclear if the agency's next action would resolve the question of whether the line can be built as planned under Lake Oahe, where construction ceased in September. In North Dakota, police confronted about 100 protesters barricading a highway adjacent to a construction easement for the pipeline, which has drawn steady opposition from Native Americans and environmental activists since the summer. The Morton County Sheriff's Department reported finding construction equipment vandalized within the pipeline easement itself, with wires cut, machinery spray painted, and windows smashed. A total of 37 arrests were made, most of them at a second roadblock nearby, according to Sheriff spokesman Rob Keller. Private security personnel reported activists hurling rocks at them, and police said one protester who attacked an officer was pepper sprayed. A spokesperson for Energy Transfer Partners, which owns the pipeline, confirmed 2 or 3 pieces of equipment were damaged, but the extent was not known. The Standing Rock Tribe and environmental activists said the project would threaten water supplies and sacred Native American sites and ultimately contribute to climate change. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.